Okay, in this podcast, Tristan Kinsley, I met him a few years ago. He sends me an email. He already owns a fractional here in Cabo at Flora Farms, and he wants to just talk. And just happens that we're in the same real estate luxury network, and recently we met up with each other and a couple hundred agents in Laguna Beach. And I asked him to be on this podcast because his market's very interesting. Nashville, Tennessee, we're getting more people coming from Nashville to Cabo, him being one of them, and he's a real estate professional. How he got into the real estate market is very interesting. And I think it's the first person that I know that was a musician before becoming a real estate agent. Take a listen. Tristan, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Appreciate it. Really excited to be here.
We first met probably by email. You sent me an email, was it maybe 2 years ago?
That sounds right. I've been following your work in the Los Cabos area in general for a while. I think we started becoming more aware of it and started visiting somewhere around 2019.
Okay.
But yeah, I finally reached out once I realized that both of us had a mutual connection through the Realm platform.
Yeah, and tell everyone your marketplace, because you're a real estate professional selling real estate in the United States, but specifically whereabouts?
That is correct. Yes, we are in Middle Tennessee, beautiful rolling Middle Tennessee. So Nashville area is generally what people think of, but we have a few different kind of satellite cities to that area that make up all of the Middle Tennessee market.
Are you originally from the area?
I'm not, but I have been here approximately 17 years, going on 17 years. I
Okay.
was born in upstate New York, grew up in Ohio, moved around a little bit, and like a lot of people, ended up down here for the music industry. So,
So before getting into real estate, you were doing music?
music was what brought me to Nashville. And then the 2008 recession slowed that down a little bit. And then my wife and I actually got into business, had owned a couple of different businesses, and
Hmm.
then sold the last one in 2013. And that was really the impetus to be into real estate full time, which is always sort of a side passion.
Okay. So let's go back. Are you a musician?
Yes, or at least I was. I'm not sure how if you do ever stop. Um, Currently, I have a 11 and 7 year old daughter, one who's on drums and one who's playing keyboard. So I like to say I am growing my own band at this point. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I grew up playing guitar and a variety of other instruments, and did a variety of things in the music industry, which is what brought me to Nashville ultimately. Yeah.
Did you ever get very far with your music career?
I yeah, so everything from it did toured kind of all over the country. I played kind of professionally from 16 until about 23.
All
And
right.
so played a ton of venues all across the country. Did a lot of recording sessions. That was actually why I originally came to Nashville, was to play on a recording session. Songwriting, worked in studios. I have a audio production degree, so I have a kind of a mixed background in that. I had my own band at one point in time. So yeah, I've done a little bit of it all.
And you vocals also, or just guitar?
I I did. Yes, the short answer is yes. uh, but like I said, by the end, it was a little bit of everything. So when you're doing studio work, at a certain point, you get called to be a specialist, but also sometimes you're a generalist. So I played drums, I played bass, played pedal steel, played whatever the gig took. So
Do you still do music?
for fun, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got my kids playing. I have a music room in our house now. We have a gym and a music room, our two kind of like fun rooms right next to each other, and have everything set up there. So yeah, I still do it for fun. I will say there was a few years after I stopped um, playing full time that the Bluebird would still call once a year, and the phone stopped ringing. So I figured that meant it was time to move on. So
Got it.
yeah, just for fun now.
So 2013, you get into the real estate industry, and that's um, we're out of the Great Recession in the States, and it seems to be a pretty good time to get into real estate. How did you get started?
Things were very much ramping up in Nashville at that point, and it was a great time and the start of a great run. Uh, a lot of that happened because we, even to this day, we've been underbuilding in Nashville for the demand for close to 3 decades at this point. Have not been able to keep up with the growth of the city. And so, yeah, it was a great time to get into real estate. I didn't really know it at the time. I just was excited. We had sold a business,
Hmm.
had a little money for the first time, and I had always wanted to do something with we're in the intersection of real estate as a business, but also with design, with architecture. And when I was in college, the three things I was had to choose between, I was like, am I going to be a rock star? Am I going to be an architect? Or am I going to be an entrepreneur? I chose rock star, but that then led me to the other two. So it all worked out at the end. Um, but yeah, I was always passionate about real estate, passionate about design. My parents kind of did the property ladder growing up. So we would buy a house and fix it up and move to the next one kind of continuously throughout my childhood. So that was already in my blood. And as soon as I had some money to work with, I said, what the heck? I don't know how to build houses, but I can figure it out. So in 2013, we started developing our first homes in the Nashville area, specifically in a neighborhood called Green Hills, which is where we lived at the time.
Okay.
So I was
And
actually a developer first before I was an agent.
and what kind of properties were you developing? Just single family?
Yep, just luxury single family houses. I didn't know any better than to not start there, so that's what we started with. Kind of figured it out on the fly.
So back then, over 10 years ago, what was luxury, price point, and in terms of size of a house?
So the at that time we were the math was very easy. You'd buy a lot. You could find lots on the MLS back then, which is incredible to think about now, and the amount of competition that we have in this market from everywhere. But yeah, you could find a lot on the MLS.
Hmm.
Purchase that, build for $100 a square foot, sell for $200 a square foot, and
Wow.
call it a day. Now, I'm not factoring in the lot cost and carry costs and things, but just rough math was very simple. Um, the first four houses that we built that first year, we sold from somewhere between 800 to a million. So that was considered luxury back then. Like selling $1 million house in Nashville in 2013 was pretty exciting.
Mhm.
Um, now that is like a lot of places that is not even entry level in certain markets of certain segments of Nashville.
So that $1 million house 10 years ago is now selling for what?
That house would probably be low, like maybe 3 to 3.2 million.
Wow. In 10 years, triple.
Yes, yes. And then the rate of return just from 2019 till today has been just kind of astonishing. Like we used to move to give you context. In 2019, in our market, there were, I believe, 13 houses that sold in 2019 north of $5 million. Now I'm excluding land property and larger
Sure.
acreage things, but just single family houses. Um, and then last year I believe there was over 53.
Wow.
So really substantial, just uptick in the market overall.
What's driving the growth of Tennessee and specifically in the Nashville area over the last
It
10 years?
is it's interesting. It's a very diversified set of growth factors. Where we started. If you go back to 2008, and I was here for the downturn in 2008, it was very mild in Nashville as compared to say Las Vegas or Florida or some of these markets where you had a lot of run up for speculative reasons or just general. That's where people were going, right? Miami condo market, for example. Um, we've always been a pretty economically diversified area. What a lot of people don't know, they think of Music City, Nashville, Music City. They think of our entertainment industry, which obviously puts us on the map. But healthcare is a huge industry here. We are actually the for-profit hospital model was born in Nashville. So that whole ecosystem of the healthcare industry is a big driver. We also therefore have a lot of doctors. We have a lot of lawyers. We have a lot of banking. So we have that kind of core that's always been there, a lot of higher education. So that's really provided a kind of a support system for a very stable infrastructure and stable economy. And then since then, we've seen boatloads of corporate relocations from all over the place. We have no state income tax. We are a very business friendly state. We are generally speaking, a lifestyle friendly state, I would say, comparatively. So people have always been moving here, and corporations were always moving here because it was a place where you want to move your business to a place where people want to live, right? And it's easier for retaining people for employees at that point. So we've seen that for a number of years. Some of the biggest names recently, obviously, Amazon opened a big satellite campus here. Oracle has just announced that they are moving their headquarters from Austin to Nashville, which was a pretty significant move. And so we've seen just a ton of that, which is just really doubled down on what we already had as a very kind of solid mixed base of infrastructure. So it's a multitude of factors. And then, and the last thing was we had a show called Nashville, which you might have seen. That was back in the early aughts, and that and an article that came out, I believe it was in 2013 in the New York Times, that called Nashville It City. It sort of really took us from this kind of second tier market where people would come visit and go to the honky tonks to really, I think, one of the premier, potential destinations for buyers from all over the country.
What's the real estate market like right now in Nashville?
It is a mixed bag as well. So something that all of us have been talking about and trying to get our arms around for I feel like the last 6 months. We continue to have a lot of, like we just announced, I said, Oracle moving here. So we continue to have that sort of corporate growth, that sort of momentum behind us. At the same time, I feel like different segments of our market have reacted differently to interest rates, to just the general oversupply in certain segments and undersupply in others. So it's almost a tale of two cities, a tale of two markets, or 3 or 5 or 10 markets. Where different price points and different segments of the market are performing differently. So right now, I tell you, if I had to pinpoint it, we are, interestingly, it's almost kind of a bifurcated scenario where we are seeing, entry level in a nice part of town, say at a 1.1 to 1.4 million, somewhere in that range. That's a market that's moving quite a bit right now. Like the interest rate, the shock of interest rates has worn off. People need to move, and it's happening. We have a lot of new construction, speculative development that has occurred from, say, 3 to 5 million.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of those deals were underwritten, say, in 2021, 2022, when things were going to go up indefinitely, and we're a little oversupplied on some of that. But then I have listings on acreage or in town estate style homes from, say, 5.5 to 9.5 million right now, and we get a lot of showings. It's a lot of cash buyers. So it's really interesting. It's been hard to figure out exactly where all of this is going to land. And again, that supply and demand is just still not totally settled down from what we saw during the COVID boom era.
If you're a buyer, a general buyer in your marketplace, what are the opportunities today?
So one thing that I think is a unique opportunity is that I don't think I've done I say that, but it doesn't feel like, at least, that I've done a single conventional, easy, normal deal since the start of the year. So we're all having to get creative, and we're putting together unique deal structures, and seller financing has come back into place. And so I would say the biggest opportunity right now is to maybe not be so focused on the headlines, not be so focused on some of the macro challenges, whether that's interest rates, whether that's supply and demand, but there is opportunity to create value in more unique ways. And again, Nick, this is where you and I, people like us, earn our stripes, right? Like when everybody's just falling over themselves to buy a house, it's sort of, there's only so much you can do in when there's a certain frothiness to the market. But when it's a market that has unique imbalances and sort of a unique kind of flow like we're seeing right now, we have an opportunity to connect the dots and come up with creative deal structures for people. So I think if I was a buyer right now, that's what I would be thinking. I would also think there's less competition right now, and there's more opportunity to get a unique deal that serves my needs, and not be so caught up in, interest rates might come down 0.5 point in 2 months.
On the flip side, if I'm a seller in your market, what's the unique opportunity in today's market?
It's related. I do think that if you have the ability to do this or to think outside of the box, there's certainly an opportunity to achieve a higher price or outsell your competition if you can offer seller financing, if you can help defer some aspect of a deal for a buyer. So we're doing some of that right now,
Yeah.
and that helps price protect. That helps. Not everybody has that level of liquidity, so I understand that that's not a situation for everyone. But the other opportunity right now is that where I feel we are performing the best on the listing side is, first of all, not doing anything so unique that it's really out there. It's if you have a true unicorn of a property, those are going to be harder to sell. There's just a narrow buyer pool, and you've made a challenge there. But if you can offer, it's sort of the fundamentals a little bit. You go back to the fundamentals of, can I be the absolute best thing at the best price point in the segment of my market? And if you can, I think you perform really, really well right now. There are buyers there, but they're just very demanding, and they want something that's turnkey and excellent and classic. Like, I think that we've a reversion to the mean is something that I've talked about in the past, but using that financial term, it does feel like what we've done is we've kind of cut out some of the noise, and we've gone back to the flight to quality. I think people will always revert back to something really excellent. So I think I would, if also as a seller, I think if you can take a longer term view at any point in time, well, actually anybody, right? Buyers can do the same thing. I think at the end of the day, buying real estate, if you can ignore a lot of the noise and focus on where real value is, what do people always want to buy, what will never go out of style, I think you'll perform really well long term. And I mean, I'll tell you what, like, there's plenty of us here in Nashville that if we had a time machine, we would go back and we would buy up everything we possibly could, because we had no idea what was coming in terms of the last 10 years. So
For sure. What relating yourself to my market, Cabo? Actually, the very first time we met was here in Cabo at my office. When was the first time you visited our area?
the very first time was in 2009, actually. And I have been exploring Mexico on and off, gosh, probably since the mid to late 90s. I think the very first trip probably was Puerto Vallarta, but I've been to the Yucatan. I've been to central Mexico, San Miguel de Allende, which I know is another market that you've now started to do some deals in. So we've explored around a decent bit, and there's obviously a lot more I'd like to see. I'm high on my list is Oaxaca and Chiapas and some of the areas in southern Mexico. But anyway, it's just it's a country that I've always found really compelling. Obviously, there's a lot of diversity to it. There's a lot of culture and a lot of history. I always have found the people to be super welcoming, and just there's the family friendly nature of Mexico in general. I think it's just really refreshing. Some of our great experiences have been, for example, I remember being on the island of Holbox off the northern part of the Yucatan, and there's a little town square, and it's like 9 p.m. on a Tuesday, and there's kids everywhere, and there's dancing, and it's just instead of all being isolated, sitting in front of TVs, everybody was hanging out on a Tuesday night. I just thought that was really cool. But anyway, so yeah, first time to Cabo was in 2009, and then we had the good fortune of just we were there in early 2020. February of 2020, and happened to purchase a fractionalized property, which I think is a really exciting idea that is starting to percolate other places. But I feel like, destinations like Mexico have always been on the forefront of more creative deal structuring, because again, your capital markets are a little less efficient than ours, at least as far as mortgages go. And so yeah, we ended up doing that, and I remember it was February 2020, stressed out. And I think it was we were at Flora Farms is where we were. And it was probably the most relaxed I had been in a long time, going out harvesting my own organic veggies right outside the door, cooking great meals. It was just a really cool experience. And I fell in love with the idea of the Cabo has the Mexican flair, but it also has the desert. It also has the beach. It's like got that California from the 1940s indoor outdoor living kind of thing that I've always felt like I missed out on because I wasn't born in the early 20th century. So yeah, it just really checked a lot of boxes. We were so lucky to buy when we did. Then it was sort of it's been our respite every year since.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's been a great experience.
And you guys come for a full month every year now.
Somewhere between we can yes we have as much as 6 weeks that we.
Yeah. Tristan, how old are your kids?
11 and 7.
Both two daughters.
Yes, that's correct.
And it's your youngest that it's her favorite place?
Yeah, that's what she says.
Wow, that means a lot. And what about the future for you, Tristan, in real estate in Tennessee? I mean, what does your business look like today, and where do you see it in 5 years?
So I started off as a solo agent, like a lot of us
Hmm.
do.
Hmm.
And actually, we were just talking about this at the Rome conference in Laguna Beach. I'm very much at an inflection point where I've been growing a team since 2019. We're at this point. We're a six person team. We did 100 million in volume. That's kind of where we're at this point. And I'm really the most excited about the future of real estate as a business and what that looks like. And definitely seen inspiration in what you've done and what a lot of other people have done, where they've, you're taking a unique kind of creative approach to thinking about it as a business, not just as a practice, but also as a business, and how you
Sure.
can, not only help your customers, but also the people who are on your teams, and provide growth opportunities and new things there. So my focus has really shifted. Obviously, I always want to keep a foothold in the practice side, and being very selective about. Thankfully, now have the opportunity to be selective about working with really great properties and really great clients. But also really trying to build out that team component, potentially adding other markets.
Yeah.
Um, I think we have some unique opportunity with some connection points here, whether it's there's certain areas in Florida. I own a house in Western North Carolina that is kind of our mountainous region that is really beautiful. So I think we have some unique opportunities to serve our clients in a variety of ways, whether that's investment properties, their kind of primary home, secondary vacation property. So I'd love to. That's one goal, is to kind of see that business grow and in that manner. And and then the other thing that we've been doing a lot of is starting to work on larger development projects. So we did a couple of years ago, we did our first full ground up condo project sellout, involved throughout the entirety of the process. And that was really fun. Again, I talked about architecture earlier and talked about passion for design, and so being able to kind of bring all those pieces in and have a say over kind of shaping and creating this whole thing. I liken it a little bit to what I like the most about music, which was the production side of things. So I really like being a producer and like helping put all the pieces together and really orchestrate from an idea to a finished product. That was the thing that I got the most excited about. So I'm most excited about leaning into that side of what we're doing, still mostly I think will be more on the boutique scale.
Sure.
I don't envision necessarily a lot of really institutional level uh, things, but high end condo projects, unique resort amenity driven subdivision type properties. I'd love to do some things in these kind of vacation markets. So that's a area that we want to focus our growth
Yeah.
on. And we have a few projects in the pipeline, but trying to really double down on that.
Cool. Exciting stuff. And are you coming to Cabo anytime this year with the family?
Well, we were there. We were there.
Was it February?
Yeah, all of February into like the first week of March, and then
Hmm.
we'll be back again. We were just talking about this the other day. I think we'll be down for 6 weeks actually. Um, this coming February. So excited about that. We used to come in October, but I gotta admit, October here is like one of my favorite months, and it's also a great time to fit in a fall camping trip or go to the mountains or something. So we found it a lot more. I gotta say, February is fabulous in Cabo. Just no humidity. The weather. I look at the weather on my phone like the week before we're going, and it's like high of 80, low of 65, sunny every single day.
Yeah.
So we found that's kind of a sweet spot, and it's a great January, February are my least favorite months in Tennessee. So it's a great time to get out of here. So
Fantastic. Well, I'm planning an event in November, so you'll have to come in Cabo, break the mold, come out for a few days, and it'll be real estate focused. So you'll it's business related, but you'll have some fun in November too.
That's excellent. Well, I know you have a lot of new projects going on and things. I'm really excited. One of the things that I'd love to be able to do is explore even sort of further afield. So we've done obviously East Cape and Todos Santos and all kind of the core there, and have ventured up into the mountains a little bit, but haven't been to La Paz yet, haven't been to Loreto yet. So I know there's still a lot more for us to see in the area. So excited about that. And I know you have some projects in those areas too. So things to check out.
Yes.
The tax write-off.
Yeah. A tax write-off.
On my CPA.
Business exploration, new projects, new deals.
Yes.
Well, Tristan, thank you very much for taking the time talking to us about your business. And look, I learned a little bit something new. I didn't know you were in music, but it kind of makes sense. Nashville, It
does. It's good co-branding for what we got going on here, right? So
fantastic.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, Tristan. We'll be in touch.
All righty. Thanks, Nick. Have a great day. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Nick Fong Podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Ronival Real Estate, and follow Nick on Instagram at NickFong_Ronival. Ready to find your Baja dream home? Check out the latest property listings at Ronival.com or FindMexicoHouses.com. Hasta luego.